Hey bro, did you hear what Trump is saying about international students? Is this a U turn? I'm really confused, man. Could you help me out? So, Donald Trump's recent comments about international students has a lot of people a bit perplexed in terms of what his long term policy or his strategy is going to be. And in a nutshell, if I had to tell you what it is, it's very difficult to pinpoint exactly what his strategy is going to be given how volatile he is. But I'm going to give you my 2 cents on what his comments and what his administration's comments mean right here, right now. So, over the past few months, there has been a whirlwind of worry and anxiety in terms of international students who are already in the US or who are planning to go to the US for foreign education. Because the Trump administration has made it a lot harder for international students to be studying in the US. Just a few examples, and I have some specific examples from people I personally know to buttress this argument, is that social media accounts are being vetted very rigorously. In fact, one of my friends that I actually made from this YouTube channel was to go to Purdue University, which is where I studied, which is where I did my master's in marketing, and she was to do the same program at Purdue as well. However, because she is a social media content creator, the vetting of her Instagram account, it took a considerably longer time, and in the process, she was not able to get her visa on time. And given that Purdue starts its program in July as opposed to a lot of universities which start their program in August or September, she missed out on the deadline. International students also have to be walking on eggshells when they are in the US at this point because political demonstrations can lead to deportations. For example, if you are leading pro Palestine protests in the US, there is a decent chance that you will come under the radar of the Trump administration and could possibly even be deported for the same. In addition to this, there have been some proposed changes to the H1B as well, one of which has already been implemented, both of which have actually caused a lot of turmoil in terms of the international community. I made videos on both of them and I'm just going to outline what they were. First one was the allocation of H1B visas is proposed to be moving away from the traditional lottery system to a merit-based system where people on higher salaries are more likely to get an H1B visa as opposed to those who don't. I have made an entire video detailing the implications for this as an international student, which you can find on the top right hand side of the screen right about here. The other policy which has been implemented is about the 100K fee that companies looking to sponsor international students would have to pay. Now, there was a lot of confusion in terms of what this would entail and who would be and whom this 100K fee will be applicable for. A common consensus was that companies would have to pay this 100K fee for all international students, which obviously, thankfully, has been clarified. All fears in terms of this has been quelled. I actually made a video on this, which you can find on the top right hand side of your screen right about here, which spoke about how legal attorneys in the US expounded on how this fee will not be applicable for those who are looking for a change in status. Again, once again, to ease all nerves, the USCIS officially confirmed this, and I'm planning to make a video on this really, really soon to talk about why, if you're already an international student in the US, you have nothing to worry about. Now that we've spoken about all the concerns regarding international students in the US, let's analyze what the Trump administration has said about international students. Given all these restrictions, one might not be in the wrong to assume that the US wants to do away with international students. However, Donald Trump himself took a U-turn in terms of what it means to be an international student in the US and what are the implications for the US having international students. Very recently, he proposed extra funding to 9 universities to cap the number of international students that they have in their universities, which was for the most part outrightly rejected. And now it seems that he's taken a U-turn because he talks about how international students are actually very necessary for a conducive higher education system in the US. He explained saying that international students pay almost double the tuition fee of what local students pay, and this is essential to be able to keep the higher education system. So what he's essentially saying is that he may not necessarily want international students, but he cannot deny the fact that they are necessary and they are good for business. Donald Trump also added to this saying that the US still needs skilled international labor simply because the US has been outsourcing or importing skilled labor for a lot of manufacturing processes, including industries such as semiconductors. And what that consequently has meant is that in the past 20 to 30 years, local Americans have not been exposed to the workings of these industries as well. Potently, what this were to mean is that even if US were to attract international investments, which it inadvertently does, they do not have the skilled labor in terms of US citizens who can actually fulfill the vacuum that will be left behind by immigrant workers. He used an example of the semiconductor industry in the state of Georgia, where he feels that a lot of South Korean employees have been instrumental in terms of strengthening semiconductor industry in the US, and making them go all away suddenly would prove to be detrimental to the US economy, especially given that semiconductors have become so crucial in today's day and age, with technology increasingly being the potent force that nations are using to one up one another. A day after Donald Trump said this, US Secretary Scott Bessent reaffirmed the need for immigrants, simply because they need immigrants to train local Americans so that they can take over the roles that have traditionally been taken over by immigrants in the past 20 to 30 years. In a nutshell, what it means is that they need skilled H-1B workers for the next 4 to 5 years, is what they are saying, so that they can train local American workers and then move back to their own country. So what does this all mean? What it means is that if you're already, like I've already discussed on this channel before, if you're already an international student in the US, or if you're already working in the US, you have nothing to worry about. I would implore you to continue your studies without an inkling of doubt about your future, because the next 4 to 5 years does not seem to be very, very hazardous, and 4 to 5 years is more than enough for you to be able to get an ROI on your education. So just focus on your education. If you're working, focus on your job, and do watch the other videos that I made, because if you're currently working right now and you want a chance to be able to get picked up for the H1B allocation in terms of the proposed change, which is likely to come in by the year 2027, you can watch that video to see how you can increase your chances of being picked up for an H1B. So now let's append a discussion to those who are looking to study in the US. What are my 2 cents in terms of whether the US is a great destination for foreign education at this point? Again, I've spoken about this on the channel before, but I'm going to briefly discuss it once again. If you're looking to do foreign education at this point, right about now, immediately in the next couple of academic years, I would suggest looking at other options other than the US, simply because there's a lot of volatility in terms of US policy at this point of time. However, if you are hard to set out on the US, I think a good idea would be to wait maybe a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and then understand what the political climate is looking like before you make a decision of going to the US. In the long run, and again, just my humble opinion, in the long run, I do believe that all of these things will be moot, because based on my research and my personal experience, I've seen that the US cannot do without immigrants. The economy is heavily dependent on the work of immigrants, and this unstable climate that has been imbued in the economy and in the country is just a ploy by the Trump administration to appease to a certain section of MAGA voters who feel like they are entitled to jobs in the US on account of being American. Again, after having discussions with people in the US, what I've come to realize is that there are a certain section of Americans, not all, let me add that. It is very important not to make sweeping generalizations, but there are a certain section of Americans who believe, like I said, are entitled to jobs in the US and are not willing to work as hard as an immigrant would, even if they're being paid a higher wage or a higher salary, which in the long run will be detrimental to their economy, right? So I feel like this is just a fugacious phase at this point of time, and in the long run, with a change in administration, or maybe even with this administration, the rules are going to get a lot more lax. We've already seen a mini U-turn in the Trump administration, and I don't count out further U-turns in the future as well. But because the man is capable of just about anything and everything, I would suggest to wait out a couple of years before you go to the US. Unless, well, of course, if finances are not a concern for you and you are okay with the idea of having to wait out after graduation to look for a job, like a lot of my classmates have had to do, then by all means the US is not necessarily a bad option. But having said that, keeping in mind all of this uncertainty, there's that off chance that you might have to come back after graduation as well. So in case you're going to be deluged in debt, you're taking an education loan, or you're using up all your lifelong savings for foreign education, I do not believe that the US is the right option as of now. But in case you are well off and finances are not a concern, then I believe that if your heart is set on the US and you're not willing to wait a couple of years, then perhaps right now might not be a wrong time. So that's just my 2 cents, and I hope that I've been able to provide some sort of value for those who are already in the US or who are planning to go to the US. This is Ratik Datta, and this is Ratty Expound, and I want to apologize to you guys for this long phase of no long videos. I was in the US for my cousin's wedding, and then subsequently I fell sick, because of which I could not make any long videos. I have been making shorts from time to time, but I'm all well and healthy now by God's grace, and I do promise to give you a video a week. You can also follow me on Instagram and LinkedIn to get real life updates about my life, because it's a little difficult to do that on YouTube. And I'm also going to be linking the articles that I refer to in the comment section below, so that you can go over them if you would like as well. The knowledge is anything but esoteric, and you can definitely go through those articles yourself if that is something you would like to do. I'm also considering making a long video on why immigrants are so crucial for the American economy. Let me know if that is something you would like to see in the comment section below, and I would be happy to oblige as always. And once again, thank you for all your support. If you're new here, please do subscribe and switch on bell notification so that you don't miss out on any future content. I make content on my academic and professional experiences and views, including my time in the US, where I did a master's in marketing from Purdue University. And if you've already subscribed, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching. Please leave me one of these. It massively helps with the algorithm, guys. And let me know what kind of videos you would like me to make. Remember, this channel is real talk only, no fluff. And as always, I hope you guys are doing well. And I wish you a great week ahead. Take care. I shall see you very, very soon. Until next time.